Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. Shalom, Hotep. Assalamu Allah, peace to the gods, peace to the goddesses. I'm your brother in the struggle, brother ministeralif. And today, family, we're going to look at some scripture from the Holy Quran in Surah or chapter 18. Chapter 18 teaches us about this figure known as Dhu-L Qarnain and Gog and Magog. Now, we have a lot to unpack here. It's a little tedious, so I'm going to edit it down as much as I can in a freestyle way. For the sake of clarity, when it comes to chapter 18 of the Holy Quran and the messenger's message in this age of mess, let's look at what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about chapter 18 of the Holy Quran, and then we're going to look at a little of the theology regarding the Nation of Islam's concept of the Holy Quran. Okay, so we're going to be coming from Message to the Black Man in America, which was published in 1965. It was reprinted numerous of times and is available to this day. All right, let's see here. In page number 103, as well as 104 technically, the messenger says, quote, read the Holy Quran, chapter 18, entitled The Cave. So the messenger's message, which helps guide us through this age of mess, is read the Holy Quran, chapter 18, entitled The Cave. Okay, so we have chapter 18 of the Holy Quran. But let us pause for a moment, because there's a whole bunch of Holy Qurans with chapter 18s. And I mean, you have the Pickthall Quran, you have the Yusuf Ali Quran, you have what I have, the Maulana Muhammad Ali translation of the Holy Quran. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, of course, to get the more accurate understanding, you have to study the Arabiya, or the Arabic language in which it was written, which 99.99% of black folk here in the wilderness of North America cannot do. You can get various, I got probably like 5 different Arabic dictionaries and thesauruses over there on the bookshelf. But in this age of technology, you can literally use a smartphone or a laptop or what have you, and they have online translations and transliterations of chapter 18 of the Holy Quran. So it's not difficult for you to do your own research, but I want to share with you the messenger's message in this age of mess. 1, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us in this book that the Holy Quran has been tampered with because it was handled by the white folks, the Romans. There's a whole surah or chapter in the Holy Quran titled Al-Rum, or the Romans have been conquered, chapter 30 of the Holy Quran. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad basically teaches us that the Bible and the Holy Quran are not 2 separate books. Like, technically, we think that they're 3 separate books. We think there's a Torah over here and a Bible here and a Quran here, and there's 3 different gods. It's talking 3 types of spooky stuff all in them. No. The reality is the Torah, the book of Sabor, the book of David, the Injil, the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Holy Quran, the Kitab, they're all the exact same book. They go back to even older and ancient books. What we call scriptures are really the spiritual sciences of cultures. They may be black cultures, brown cultures, yellow cultures, red cultures, white cultures. Every culture has its worldview, its spiritual cosmology and theology of how everything happened. How did this universe come about? Why are we here? Who is God? I mean, you know, human beings intuitively and instinctively ask those types of questions. It's natural. I mean, and we usually pass down complicated, long, detailed stories in the form of short, brief symbols and rituals and signs and parables and similes, and we use analogies. You know, we study the universe. We look at things like a flying bird, and in the Quran, you'll hear them talk about the tayr, the flying birds. Now, I mean, you'll see them talk about the ant, the bee. You know what I mean? You'll see in the Bible, you know, them teaching on the spider. You know what I mean? Tell you, you know, study the ant. They are wise. You know what I mean? You know, it teaches us all kind of stuff about the serpents, the snakes all over the scriptures. Now, I mean, we read about the white dove, the black ravens in Noah's Ark and things. And we read about the sign of the rainbow and the sun and the moon and the stars. These things are things that are global in their impact and knowledge, you know, so they're real common for different cultures and different languages to basically comprehend. Now, I mean, so scriptures play a good role. Now, I mean, me personally, I'm not an atheist. Now, I mean, I'm not a religious person. Now, I mean, I do not believe in religion in a definitive sense of the word. Like, religion comes from the Latin term ligare. Re means to go back, and ligare means to bind or tie down, to fasten something, to enslave something or someone or some people. Now, I mean, so I don't believe in organized religion. Now, I mean, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, contrary to popular belief, there is only one creator of creation. In Arabic, we call that creator al-Khaliq, the creator. You see? The creator is al-Khaliq, but many people confuse the creator with the name Allah. Allah means the God. Allah does not mean the creator. The creator is one of the 99 attributes of the God, Allah. Allah, the God, has 99. Of course, there's numerous more, but we just codify it. 99 attributes, and one of those attributes is al-Khaliq, the creator. We believe in a head. We believe in tafsir. We believe in the oneness of creation. We believe that there is one creator of all creation. What is unique with the nation of Islam who follow the life-giving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is we don't interpret that concept of a creator as being a mystery God, as being a magical, super powerful God that exists in our hearts. Jesus is in our heart. God lives in you. All of that, I ain't going to be disrespectful, but plain and simple, all of that is a misinterpretation, a misunderstanding on spiritual science. See, true religion to us was a mixture of spirituality and science. It was sometimes spooky spirituality and all kinds of pseudosciences. We may call it astrology, but the people that originally taught it was trying to teach the people astronomy. Astronomy, not what is your zodiac sign and all that goobly goop. You know what I mean? But basically, when you read your Old Testament and you pick up the book of Genesis, for example, the book of Genesis, the book of genetics, Genesis, the book of origins, it means the beginning, the book of origins. When you look at the origins, you'd be like, Genesis, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. When you read this and you look at it mathematically, chronologically, not listening to the ministers and the reverends and the pastors and the imams and the evangelists and the online pseudoscience stuff. But read it for yourself. You'll see, like, wait a minute. In the beginning, God did this, that, and the other, and the light and things of that nature there. He says, on this third day, he did this, that, and the other. So if he's making the sun, moon, and stars over there, this light can't be talking about our sun or our stars or our moon, because they wasn't made yet. Yet there was a light. And when you look at science of astronomy, they'd be like, well, before the sun and the stars and the moon, we did have some light that had to get sparked, but that was the light of the atom of life. Meaning that we had to spark the atoms, and these atoms, known as hydrogen and helium and carbon and oxygen and things like that, this mathematics is what brought about Ma'at, as the ancient people of Kemet or Black Egypt call it, or brought about the balance, or what we have today as the sun, moon, and star, the flag of Islam. So our flag is not a religious flag. We look at Islam as the nature of Black people. Our interpretation of chapter 30, verse 30 of the Holy Qur'an, meaning that the deen is not the religion, but the deen is the way of life. It's the culture. It's the common sense. It's the everyday, mundane, breathing in, you breathe out. You got to eat. You got to sleep. You got to get up. You see, you got to live, then you're going to die. You see, it's all mathematics. God adds and multiplies. The negative force divides and subtracts. But there's no separation between God and that negative force. So in Islam, we're taught about the articles of faith. And we're taught to believe that the forces of good and evil all proceeds from that one creator of creation. That first causation, that singularity. Religious people in Islam call it al-Khaliq. People in other religions call it the creator. Scientists refer to it as energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Energy exists everywhere. It just simply transforms. We agree, and we say that all of this is synonymous with what we call the mind. Now, everyone has a mind, just like there's different light bulbs in your house. There's different light bulbs, but it's only one energy. Each light bulb has its own degree or wattage of light. You may have I have a lamp on my desk. I mean, this little light bulb in here is not equal to my studio light. I mean, it's not as bright as the floodlights outside my house to light up at nighttime outside. So you have different degrees or wattages of lights, and you have different levels of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that knowledge is to listen, know, and observe. Knowledge is just the foundation. What is higher in the degrees of knowledge is what we call wisdom. In the Arabic language, knowledge is known as alim. The higher degrees of alim is known as hakim, or wisdom. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that wisdom is to make your knowledge known. You see, I'm a student follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but he don't want us to be parrots. You could give a parrot some crackers and be like, Polly wants a cracker. I'm not taught to recite lessons to you just all willy-nilly. No, we supposed to internalize it, analyze it, deputize it, scrutinize it. The message said, don't take my teacher's hook, line, and sinker. Piece it apart. You see? We have to go into the depths of things because he taught us in the divine sayings that wisdom is independent of anyone. This is why we see more and more. You see? He's told us, he said, your wisdom should not be charged with mediocrity. Now, I mean, you can't put inferior wisdom on the level of supreme wisdom. So Master Fard Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever, whom we believe to be the supreme law God, Sakim, or in person, he teaches us that we have 7 mind dimensions. These dimensions are portals, are known as the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, the soul, the self, and the will. That which is physical can vibrate and manifest and transform into the highest plane, which is the will. So that which is seen at one time was not seen. This takes away the law of impossibility. Allah teaches us, how can this or that be impossible when we live in a universe that exists? And once upon a time, the universe did not exist, family. There was no earth, there were no human beings, there was no water, there was no animals, there was no sun, no moon, there was no Thara or atoms. You see? And yet, there was the will of Allah. There was that mind of the original man. But the messenger teaches us that willpower could not be made manifest until we produce brains in order for us to think with. You'd be like, all this energy. How would we know about energy? We didn't know about the energy in antiquity. We know about the energy because it's made manifest through the light bulb. Once that energy is made manifest through the batteries or through your radio or through your cameras, or I could take and manifest energy through my microphone. Now, I mean, I can manifest energy through any substance that's able to radiate that wisdom. So it is with God. You won't know God unless you know someone. See, if you don't know somebody, you may call that somebody Ibrahim or Abraham, Musa, Moses, Isa, Jesus, Muhammad, what have you. Some man or some woman. Human beings convey information to and from human beings. Whatever little bit of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding I learned in my life came from the universe in which I live. The universe is a book. I may have learned from my mother. The messenger teaches us, again, in Message to the Black Man in America in 1965, that your mother is your first nurse. She's your first teacher. Your first lesson comes from your mother. You see? It's a science there. There's a science in seeing the sun and watching a bird or a butterfly or a fish, watching another human being, seeing technology, seeing horses, seeing cars and jets flying in the air, airplanes and helicopters. We learn subconsciously 24 hours a day, or to be more exact, 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 46 seconds in a solar day. This is what we call, or we deem to be, Islam. So we don't focus on Islam as being the black man's religion. I mean, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Islam is the nature in which he was created. So when we look at the Holy Quran, whether it's Maulana Muhammad, Pickthall, Yusuf Ali, or some white translator, or some pure Arab translator, like they have a glorious Quran, the noble Quran. They have Quran straight from the holy city of Becca, which was renamed to Mecca. Now, I mean, but when we look at these scriptures, you know, when we look at the Holy Quran, you see these different vowels in there. You see the Kashra and the Duma, the Shada, the Mada, but none of these vowels existed during the time of the Khatim Nabi, or the seal of the prophets, peace be upon him. You know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is correct in teaching us to read the scriptures in reality. The Holy Quran teaches us in chapter 22, verse 6, Allah and al-Haq, the God is reality. The God is the truth. So we don't expect mystical or mythical angels to come floating down from out of the sky. The Holy Quran teaches us that if Allah was to make an angel, he would surely make him a man, and thus confuse that which you're already confused in. Because you think angels got these white feathers, they're holier than thou, they're floating up in the clouds somewhere. You think heaven is somewhere up in this realm and that realm beyond that planet or what have you. You think that someone or something is going to come down to earth and save you and do for you that which you ultimately and eventually will realize you got to do for yourself. Set yourselves in heaven at once with peace of mind and contentment, money, good homes, and friendships in all walks of life. The kingdom come, thy will be done right here on earth as it is in heaven, family. As it is in the heaven of your mind, the heaven of your thoughts. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the hereafter is not a resting point, it's a starting point. When we take and get independent, that's the start of your heaven. You have to work and build your kingdom. You have to show and prove the reality of God. You see, we have to transform this evil and corrupt world into a world of righteousness and peace and love and harmony and freedom and justice and equality. That's what we strive for. That's what everything that's going on, that's what we're ultimately vibrating towards. That balance, that paradise on earth as it is in heaven. That place where, you know, nothing of the old will enter into the new, you see? But the temporary heavens, and I say heavens with an S because, you know, your Bible teaches you about different heavens. I mean, there's angels at each gate. I mean, you know, it teaches you in the Qur'an that there's different gates to heaven and different gates to hell. It's like, why do heaven have gates? I mean, why does heaven have angels? Why does heaven need security? I mean, why does hell have security? The Holy Quran teaches us to go and ask the angel Michael, you know, is hell full? You're going to be like, are there any more? It's like, I'll squeeze them in here somewhere. Because heaven and hell are conditions of the world in which we presently live. It's just hard for us to mentally wrap our brain around a world where everything is transformed. I mean, like it's different. You have different types of grafted apples, delicious apples, golden Macintosh. But say all of the apple trees was burnt up in the fire. I'm talking about the roots, the trees, the trunk, the branches, the leaves, the fruit, the seeds, the very essence, all of it. And to transform and go back to the atoms of carbon, the atoms of life. In the future, a new type of fruit would rise up out of that. And that new fruit would be different from that ancient old fruit. So the scriptures teaches us in the Bible that there will be new food in heaven. Now, I mean, you know, it'll be like, it'll grow so fast and the leaves will be for healing. Like, it'll be totally different from the fruit that we eat, or us saying we're vegans today, we're vegetarians or what have you. You see, you have some very unhealthy vegetarians and vegans on earth. Why? They have all kind of grafted fruits, all kind of grafted, genetically engineered, laboratory-made produce that's made in a laboratory. They got literally man-made tomatoes. They put meat in tomatoes now. It's tomatoes with fish inside the tomato. They genetically take the essence of fish and put it inside the tomato. You see? So just because you're eating fruits and vegetables, that don't mean that you're not growing fruits and vegetables from toxic, polluted lead water or pesticide blueberries and strawberries. And, you know, it's like the fruit and vegetables you see today is not from God. You know how you eat broccoli? God never made broccoli. When you see a big broccoli, how thick the stem is with the big head on it and all that. No, real broccoli, natural broccoli, organic, like they look at broccoli like botanists, the scientists that study the plant life. When they look at it, they're like, wait a minute. When we look at old broccoli, it looked like a blade of grass. It's that skinny. But they took that little thin blade of grass in a laboratory and experimented with it and produce this giant broccoli head. Now, that don't mean, we're human. We got to survive. Now, I mean, so you may be like, well, should I eat canned goods? No, eat some fresh broccoli, eat some fresh garlic or whatever. But don't think that that garlic is the original garlic. Don't think those blueberries are the original blueberries. Don't think them giant strawberries are original strawberries. You see, don't think any of this stuff that we have today was on this planet beyond 6,000 years ago. You see, they had totally different fruits and vegetables, and that stuff get mathematically transformed through time. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that we are to read chapter 18 of the Holy Quran. And in part 1, we covered Gog and Magog from a biblical perspective. I say biblical perspective because we live in a world where they separate the scriptures. They separate the religions. They be like, oh, they're the Jews. They're the Egyptians. They're the people of Kemet. They're the people of Nubia, Sudan. They're the people of Kush. They're Ethiopians. They're the people of Becca, of Mecca. Oh, they're the Indus Valley Black Davidian, Black Indians. Now, I mean, oh, those people over there, they're studying Islam. Now, I mean, they had a pure deen over there. They're Catholics. We all teach the same thing, just in a different way. All of the spiritual systems are from our people, not a mystery God. They're from the trials and tribulations, the wisdom and the ignorance of our people and that sojourn on the planet Earth, covering 196,940,000 square miles. Our people wrote various texts that we have in the Bible and the Quran in this day and time. And some people take these texts literally, and that's where the confusion comes into play. That's where the bit of or chaos or confusion comes from. A lot of spooky stuff. I mean, misinterpretations, misunderstandings, mistransliteration. You got Jews over here thinking that the Torah is some holy, perfect book from Yahweh, some mystery God. Know what I mean? And their thing is only those that know the Hebrew can really understand it. No. I mean, then you got the Christians and Catholics, Protestants and Jehovah's Witnesses. And it's like, you notice all these religions, you got the Jews, the Orthodox Jews, you got the Sunnis, the Shia, the Ahmadiyya, the Hanafis, the Ansari. It's like all these different branches reading the exact same holy book. Each branch think that it alone has the correct interpretation, and it's all gobbledygook at the end of the day. You see what I'm saying? Because we're not looking at each other in the sense of trying to learn from one another. Now, I mean, when you read about chapter 18 of the Holy Quran, section 11, we're coming from chapter 18. We'll start at verse or ayat number 83 about Dhu-L Qarnain and Gog and Magog. Now, one of the beautiful things that I love about the Holy Quran, in my opinion, the God of the Old Testament, you notice he's a vengeful, wrathful. He's a guy that tell you destroy, 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 war, 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 chaos. Get them all, even the horses. Burn the tents. They have a scorched earth policy. Then the law of the pendulum. It swings back to this state of the time of Jesus. Wherein he's basically teaching love and unity and peace and things of that nature there. And it's the same thing. Jesus is just teaching a modern, more accurate interpretation of the ancient Hebrew text. The messenger teaches us the way prophecies work. They work in cycles. It's hard for us to really grasp that. Most people doubt that there are 12 major scientists and 12 minor scientists that actually can write history in advance, but they absolutely have no problem believing that their grandmother can write on Tuesday that she needs some tomato sauce and some bread, and then on 3 days later, she got tomato sauce and some bread. That what she wrote, she can bring that into fruition, okay? There is a mathematical process that she uses to fulfill that which she writes. It's common sense. We do it all the time. But when you do it on a higher level, you do it in cycles. You analyze human psychology, human social behaviors. You begin to understand patterns. So you see the patterns, and you see how the sun moves. You see how the tides move. You see how the moon, when you start studying, you see like, oh, everything operates in a cycle, 360 degrees. So it is with history. Now it means like, as the messenger put it, every 2,000 years, a major Nabi or prophet is born. So when we look back in time, be like, wait a minute, who's this guy in scriptures on the prophecies known as Moses, talking about he's going to be fighting an oppressive system, telling them, he's trying to help his people against this powerful Pharaoh. And 2,000 years later, you see this cycle repeat itself. There's this other guy. Now, this guy, Moses, his people going to reject and oppose him. And he's going to struggle and go through a lot of stuff. And he's ultimately going to overcome this wicked government. That government that was so superior, it fell, you see. 2,000 years later, we see this other guy known today as Jesus. He's trying to help his people, but he got this other, it's not a Pharaoh, but he got this Caesar, he got this Roman government that's just all powerful. Like they them dudes on earth. And this little poor dude is trying to teach his people and guide his people against this seemingly impossible opposition. But something about his word is going to mathematically dismantle that power base and that Roman power, that Roman government that was so infallible. In 2024, it fell, you see? Then 2,000 years after that, you got this other guy come popping up, talking about his name is Prophet W.D. Fard. And he too is teaching his people, but he's like, I'm going to go against these people that call themselves the USA, the government of America, who enslaved black folks over here in the wilderness of North America. And they seem real powerful. They got technology, satellites, money, you name it. Who could, who's like unto the beast? Who can wage war with them? But the wisdom, the Department of Supreme Wisdom, the Hakimi of Master Fard Muhammad is dismantling his whole thing so that those in the future will come back and look at America and be like, whoa, I remember when the slave masters built this whole super infrastructure. It's no longer here. This is how the cycles work in prophecies. So when you understand them cycles and understand there's nothing spooky, remember, it's all about the haq, or the reality, all right? When you understand the reality, it takes you out of the superstition. When you read the scriptures about the snake talking, you be like, it's not really talking about snakes actually talking, but you do have people that lie, that teach and spread technology, make evil suggestions to you. Now, you gotta be like, Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. We seek refuge from the rejected enemy, the devils. But we're not talking about ghosts and spooks and little demons coming out of the magazines and books, and no. But those subconscious ideas, those beliefs of Santa Claus and Easter bunnies, the belief that when you physically die, you're going to live, that you're going to some magical heaven somewhere in outer space. They asked Moses, well, what is your heaven? He like, well, the heaven that Yahweh taught me about is a land of milk and honey. It's a land with plenty of gold up in there. And you'd be like, so humans are going to be eating? Like, well, what is Yahweh's mathematical spiritual science of life regarding a land of milk and honey. You'd be like, okay. When we study the land, we'd be like, well, there's 57,255,000 square miles of land, 139,685,000 square miles of water. It totals 196,940,000 square miles according to our lessons, which is our blessings. And milk comes from cows. They got different stomachs. You know, you pull on it, you know, they chew grass, swallow it, and it can't really get properly digested in this stomach. So it go to another stomach where, you know, you can pull on the udder and you get some milk. You know what I mean? The pressure of our sun can produce gold. You know what I mean? You know, if a little grain of sand gets stuck inside of a clam or oyster, what have you, in the seafloor, you know, it irritates it and it put pearl over that grain of sand, and that stress and that friction build up, and eventually you come open it up and you get a pearl out of that sea creature. You get the same results from silver, from diamonds. The pressure of coal on that diamond, it may be stuck in the mud, you see, but the land of milk and honey, honey is from bees, you see. Bees, when they gather that little nectar, you know what I mean, they trying to raise their children and build their hive, they produce this honey, but it's a cause to this effect. There's no physically dead people eating honeycombs and drinking milkshakes. You see, the Holy Quran teaches us that there will be milk that won't spoil you. You don't take it literally. We know that milk, you're going to turn the curd and whey is going to turn into cheese. It's going to get rotten. It's like, that's the natural way of Allah. That's the natural way of Yahweh, or the creator of all creation. The Holy Quran teaches us, call him Rahman, call him Rahim, call him She, call him whatever name you want, as long as it's a good name. But his proper name, and we say he, we mean the Arabic word huwa, he the God, huwa Allahi, huwa Allahi. That's the name and description of the God of the Holy Quran. The God of the Holy Quran is not described as Ru Allahi, or the spirit God, the spook God, the ghost God, the Casper the friendly ghost God, some bright white light of pure Nur sitting on an arse or throne of water. And that's the wrong interpretation and application of trying to understand one creator of one creation. You see, it's not complicated, nor is it new. I know a lot of people think that it just was taught by Akhenaten and ancient Egypt. No. To properly understand it, we have to go into this Quran. And before we go into it, in fact, I think I'll make a separate video later, inshallah, to show that the god Darius, you may call him the King Darius, of ancient Persia, what we call Iran today. Like, you have to look, what was the Iranians believing before Prophet Muhammad was born? What was they believing, not just 1400, what was they believing 3,500 years ago? They was believing in one God. They believed in making prayer 5 times a day. They was teaching their version of spiritual science that was adopted and adapted and modified by other nabis, because all of the prophets is teaching the same thing, just in a different way. No matter what they teach in Christianity about the Father, Son, and Holy, there's only one God. There's only one Yahweh. They're all this same exact, you could say, representation of that infinite and eternal force. You see? How we interpret that creator is where the problems come into play. All right. That being said, the scholars of Islam, like if you get the Yusuf Ali Holy Quran, for example, and you read his footnotes, you're going to see that, you know, they look at basically two figures that they basically look at King Cyrus, and they look at Alexander the Great as being the real Dhu-L Qarnain. Other people look at it like the Millennium Muhammad Ali translates of the Holy Quran in his footnotes. He look at him as being King Darius of Persia or Iran. Now, I mean, studying the Zoroastrian faith, if you will. I don't disagree with any of those interpretations. I disagree with your limited interpretation. And looking, how you going to look at Alexander the Great, King Cyrus, or King Darius, and not see yourself, the tyrants in your life, the times that you were a tyrant, the tyrants that are presidents of the United States of America, the tyrants of Africa, the tyrants of China, the tyrants of India, definitely the tyrants of Europe, the tyrants of organized religions, you see? Meaning that you have these different powerful figures, but you also have what the Holy Quran calls powerful figures that try to do the right thing, that believe in peace and the oneness of God. They try to live in harmony with the universal order of things. They try to help the oppressed. So this figure known as Dhu-L Qarnain is actually a sign or a symbol of a powerful, righteous teacher, okay? So we can see in history all these great figures. One figure I want to touch on for one moment because a lot of people is not aware of it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us in here about the tribe Shabazz, all right? King Cyrus, in his lifetime, his empire was so vast, no one could see the beginning nor the ending of it. He traveled from the east to the far west and took over and conquered everything. He was known as the God of gods, the King of kings. Know what I mean? He was that boy. Know what I mean? And his banner or his symbol or his seal was a all red flag. And on that red flag was a golden falcon. It was called the Shabazz. So here you have the most powerful black man, and I say powerful black man because he was native of the Far East. I mean, you hear all this pseudoscience that the people of the Tigris River of ancient Babylon, baby London, the Sumerians and all the tribes around there were from some alien civilization that came down and mixed with the humans. No, humans mix with humans. You see what I'm saying? When humans mix with apes, ain't nothing happening. When humans mix with sheep, ain't nothing happening. We call that bestiality. It just don't work. Genetically, Mother Nature be like, Father Law didn't create things like that. She ain't co-signing that. Now, you can artificially go in the laboratory and do all kind of things. The way the devil got this world, when they finish, they'll have men having babies. I mean, so that's how easy that'll be with technology. But that doesn't change the universal law of nature. It just shows what Master Fard Muhammad said, that we don't believe in the law of impossibilities. How can this or that be impossible when we say once upon a time the universe did not exist? Today, the universe exists. Its existence takes away the impossibility of anything. If you have a Earth spinning on her axis 1,037 1/3 miles per hour, tilted 23.5 degrees to the plane of her orbit, and she has 24,896 miles in circumference, and you do the math on that and you extract 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 46 seconds, or approximately 24 hours in a day, and it goes around that sun, and that sun is 93 million miles away or 150 billion kilometers away from the planet Earth, then it extracts mathematically 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds, according to the 99 Actual Facts from Prophet W.D. Farr in 1933. Study your lessons. Your lessons are your blessings. You see? Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam, then that shows and proves to the scientists or the student files in Elijah Muhammad who study the sciences of life, the cause and effects. It makes sense. So there is no one figure for Dhu-L Qarnain in a historical sense. History is not a science. The Bible, the Torah, nor the Quran was designed to be a history book in that type of sense. No, it covers history. It covers nutrition, health, finances, social relations, judgments. It covers hygiene. I mean, anything our ancestors did and needed is in there. Like it covers cucumbers and lentils. I mean, it covers when we should fast. I mean, it covers funerals. It covers births. Now, I mean, it covers the old. It covers the new. It covers the rich. It covers the poor. All that's in the scriptures, you see. And this is why it's so interesting to us when we study this. Know what I mean? But don't let the 10% rich slave makers of the poor give you a spooky interpretation of these scriptures. So, Dhu-L Qarnain and Gog and Magog is distinct in the Holy Quran for various reasons. One of the main things is Gog and Magog in the Bible. We covered this in part 1, Ezekiel chapter 38 and Ezekiel chapter 39, as well as the book of Revelation and other places. But it basically has Gog as a powerful leader over Magog. The Quran is more nuanced. The Quran is basically talking about Dhu-L Qarnain and a people or a tribe or a nation known as Gog, and a people or a tribe known as Magog. So it's a nuance there, if you will. All right. So let's look at some of this. Let's unpack some of this. Chapter 18, verse 83. And they asked thee about Dhu-L Qarnain. Say, I will recite to you an account of him. Now, let me pause right there real quick. It teaches us that it will recite to us not the account, but an account. Meaning, don't take this account like this is the only account. Like it's like it's King Cyrus. No, it's King Darius. No, it's Alexander the Great. No, it's this guy. It's this Pharaoh of ancient Kemet. Oh, it's this president. All of that is true when you're using it properly. You see, you have to let the Quran or let the Bible interpret itself. You just looking at the math, the pattern. You see, you're studying the symbolism of the language to understand, okay, we're talking this good guy versus the bad guys. It's real simple. I mean, you're talking what we call now cosmology and theology, the 5% poor righteous teachers and the 10%, the rich, the slave makers of the poor. And you're talking about the 85%, the mentally dead, the masses. Now, I mean, they worship that which they know not what. They need help from the 5%ers. Dhu-L Qarnain is trying to help the 85%. Malcolm X did it. Dr. Martin Luther King did it. Marcus Messiah Garvey did it. Prophet Noble Drew Ali did it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad did. Muhammad Ali did it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad did it. Master Muhammad did it. The Honorable Minister Farrakhan did it. The Honorable Salis Muhammad did it. You did it in various ways. Your father, your uncles, your next door neighbor, the guy down the street, that sister over there, that sister over, Sister Ava Muhammad, Sister Tanetta Muhammad. All of them could come in and build a defense system to try to help the oppressed, the poor people on the face of this planet. They would fulfill the type and antitype of a Dhu-L Qarnain, all right? The old and the new. All right, let's look at this. And they asked thee about Dhu-L Qarnain. Say, I will recite to you an account of him. Truly we established him in the land and granted him means of access to everything. So he followed a course until when he reached the setting place of the sun, he found it going down into a black sea and found by it a people we said, "O Dhu-L Qarnain." Notice it's a we in there. See, the Quran don't teach, Allah made the heavens and earth and the sun, moon, and star. No, the Quran is like, we made, we put the mountains on the earth. See, so the Quran teaches us, we said, now what Muhammad teaches, there are 12 major scientists and 12 minor scientists. These inner scientists are human beings and not ghosts and spooks and spirits, all right? We said, "O Dhu-L Qarnain, either punish them or do them a benefit." They left it up to him, all right? He said, "As for him who is unjust, we shall chastise him. Then he will be returned to his Lord, and he will chastise him with an exemplary chastisement. And as for him who believes and does good, for him is a good reward, and we shall speak to him an easy word of our command." Then he followed a course until when he reached the land of the rising sun, he found it rising on the people to whom we had given no shelter from it. Now, a lot of scholars look at that as the Medo-Persian. A lot of pseudoscientists be like, that shows the Holy Quran is inaccurate. Talk about the sunrise and the sunset. It's like, listen, the people in ancient Persia under King Darius, he taught them to practice 5 prayers in harmony with the sun. The people of Islam, they still practice salat or prayers in harmony with the sun. All right. You have Fajr, Thor, Ars, Maghrib, and Isha. I was born with the name Isha. My mom called me Isha. My sisters, that's the night prayer or the end of prayer. All right. Fard is obligatory, but Fajr is the morning prayer. Before the sun is actually seen, you make this prayer. So you have Fajr, you have Thor, you have Ars. So you have these evening prayers that right after the sun reaches its zenith, the late afternoon, after 12 o'clock. So it's set around what the Holy Quran teaches us in chapter or surah 90 as al-Shams, the sun. So it makes sense when you in ancient Africa, in ancient Egypt, they had this thing about Ra, the sun. They had this thing about the Aten. It's like, so the spiritual science makes sense because everybody on earth always it's something about this sun that's growing the food. It's causing droughts. We want to please this object up here. Some people worship the sun, but Abraham was like, we worship not those that set. You see? So human beings, we had to grow and mature and go through a learning curve and get out of astrology and get into astronomy. And in 2024, we we bear witness, la ilaha illallah. There's no God but God. The Downbelad Muhammad says in here, la ilaha illallah. He says in the Arabic, in Message to the Black Man, 1965, la ilaha illallah. We believe that. It's like we don't have no problem with that. We bear witness there's no God but God. The question is, are you talking about a mystery God? Are you talking about Ru'Allahi? Because the Quran don't teach us to believe in Ru'Allahi or the spirit God. The Quran teaches us to believe in what? Huwa Allahi. Huwa is what? A pronoun. It's a he, a him. You see, it refers to some male. So we say, Kuluhu Allahu ahad, Allah as-samad, lam yulid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu. So we don't believe in no incorporeal anthropomorphic. We don't believe in nothing spooky. That's the simple way. I don't want to use no 50-cent words and all. I don't even like that. I want to keep it plain for you. All right. So let us go on. So until when he reached the land of the rising sun, he found it rising on the people to whom we had given no shelter from it. So it was, and we had full knowledge of what he had. Then he followed a course until when he reached a place between the 2 mountains, he found on that side of them a people who could hardly understand a word. Now, these are some uneducated people, mentally dead. They worship that which they know not what, you see. It's nothing negative against them because as human beings, we all have to grow in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You see, we go through the stages of Alimi, then Hakimi, then Alifi, or the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding, the 1, 2, and 3s of life. You see, let us go on. Until when he reached the place between the two mountains, he found on that side of them a people who could hardly understand a word. They said, "O Dhul Qarnain, Gog and Magog do mischief in the land." Now, the people are saying Gog is not the evil god in the land of Magog, like Russia, like the Bible. They saying, no, listen. Quote, they said, "O Dhul Qarnain, Gog and Magog do mischief in the land." He's saying both of these lands, both of these territories, both of these representatives or leaders, they both are 10%ers, rich slave makers of the poor. They oppress us. May we then pay thee tribute on condition that thou raise a barrier between us and them? He said, that wherein my Lord has established me is better. So if only you help me with strength of men or people, I will make a fortified barrier between you and them. All right, it's 2024. All right. What protected or protects the United States from the war powers of Europe, like Russia, for example? An ocean, you see? So here, Dhul Qarnain symbolically is going to build a wall, a iron wall, or lead wall, molten wall made of metal between two mountains. Sounds impossible? Not really. We see human beings build dams between mountains all the time. They all over the planet Earth. I mean, you know, that's nothing. That's not an engineering feat that's impossible, especially for a wise person that has the staff and the minerals and the resources to do it. Now, I mean, it seems impossible. Like if you go to the Great Wall of China, you'd be like, wow, how did they build a wall through all these mountains? But the people that did it be like, it wasn't easy. A lot of people died building this, but we got the job done. They be like, it wasn't aliens, human beings, not slaves, regular Egyptians working hard, literally breaking their backs, crushing their hands, built the pyramids, you see? So it goes on. He said, bring me blocks of iron. At length, when he had filled up the space between the two mountainsides, he said, blow, till when he had made it as fire, he said, bring me molten brass to pour over it. All right, so now he's taking stacks and building all this iron. And then he's going to tell them to blow, meaning like people that's into smelting understand you need oxygen. You know what I mean? You know, what toughens up iron is a mixture of carbon, and you have to have some air. In antiquity, using metal was considered the power of the human gods. Black men did not let people know that. Other black men could not learn how to use blocks of iron. That was a carefully guarded secret, because if it got in the hands of the wrong people, which it did, they're going to write a Second Amendment. Everybody got guns. Everybody got swords. Now you got all this evil and chaos running around. They be like, oh, we want to build some iron ships and go conquer some lands. We want to build some iron tanks and blow some stuff up. We want to make some iron rockets and go to other planets and mess stuff all up. So it's like, in antiquity, they was not, the literal term blacksmith is from these ancient blacksmiths. They wore black. They were physically black. Like they're in Azania or ancient South Africa. I remember 40 years ago, there's an excellent book. I can't recall the name. I read it like 40 something years ago, but it was something of the nature of ancient inventions, something of that nature there. And it had pictures of, in museums, like iron spears that was made in ancient South Africa. Now, I mean, and it shows like this little metal silver ball. They had a good one is the people of ancient India. Like the Ambulance Rama teaches about the Hindus. They had some high-tech technology back then. In the fall of America, the message talk about flying vehicles trillions of years ago. Sound crazy to us in this day and time. Know what I mean? But the Holy Quran teaches us that the rise and fall of nations, like, yeah, y'all think these are some fancy new nations, but we had greater nations than the ones you got on earth in this present day and time. Now, I mean, they corny compared to what the gods and goddesses built in antiquity, all right? But, you know, it's like we live in a universe where things transform. Now, I mean, volcanoes erupt, earthquakes take place, floods, the land is 70% water, 71% water. We got rocks falling from outer space, meteors or comets hitting this planet. So we may see things like it is right now, but all this stuff could disintegrate. I mean, and you just find layers of burnt carbon here and ash there, and this transforming to this and that. You know, we're talking a long time. Now, I mean, I understand modern scientists basically talk like a couple of billions of years, but the law teaches us, no, it's like it's been going on for 76 trillion years. The ancient Indian texts talk about trillions of years. But I remember seeing this ancient black metal, it looked, they don't know what it was used for. If I was to describe it, I could best describe it as being like some type of iron cage or something like that, like a giant iron metal plant holder or something of that nature there. I don't know what it was used for, but the craftsmanship of it is so precise and beautiful. You'd be like, wow, they did this in antiquity. Now, I mean, you know, and it's like when I read, so when I read in the Holy Quran about Dhu-L Qarnain building this metal wall, I'm like, okay, it's like, it doesn't sound like he needed magic to do it. It sounds like he used engineering. He used the sciences of life. So he said, bring me blocks of iron at length. When he filled up the space between the two mountainsides, he said, blow, till when he had made it as fire, he said, bring me molten brass to pour over it. So they were not able to scale it, nor could they make a hole in it. He said, this is a mercy from my Lord. But when the promise of my Lord comes to pass, he will crumble it, and the promise of my Lord is ever true. And on that day, we shall let some of them surge against others, and the trumpet will be blown. Then we shall gather them all together, and we shall bring forth hell exposed to view on that day before the disbelievers, whose eyes were under a cover from my reminder, and they could not bear to hear. So here, Dhu-L Qarnain is like, yeah, this defense system that I set up, it's not going to exist forever. I mean, you know, it's like, that's just the way nature is. If Master Muhammad built a mother plane in 1929, that mother plane won't be flying 66 trillion years in the future. The message teaches us we had flying craft trillions of years ago. That flying craft ain't flying in 2024. It's like you got an old car. It's like 66 trillion years ago, your car is not going to be on this planet. It's going to turn back to the rocks that it came out of. So it is with us. I mean, our bones are stone. Our flesh is vegetation. Our blood is water. But we came out of the earth. We're going to disintegrate, go right back into the earth. You see? Our energy can't be created nor destroyed. So that energy is just going to transform and vibrate and keep on doing what it always do. Be energy inside the universe, as the universe, beyond the universe. Wherever energy is, it is. So there's nothing spooky inside these scriptures. I hope that you like and subscribe this video and patronize your own people in business, and make sure y'all come back so that y'all can share some more of this teachings on Gog and Magog in part 3. The struggle continues. Salam Allah. Peace to the gods, peace to the goddesses.